Last Halloween, my sister and her husband went all out with the decorations. You know, the kind of people who turn their front yard into a movie set every October. That was them. Fog machines, fake gravestones, glowing skeletons. The whole thing. The centerpiece, though, was this motion-activated animatronic scarecrow. It was about 6 feet tall, wore a tattered plaid shirt and straw hat, and had this cheap speaker in its chest that played a creepy laugh whenever someone walked by. It was goofy in the daylight, but at night, with all the fog rolling through the yard, it actually looked unsettling, especially with that wide grin that never moved. They got it from a seasonal pop-up store. My brother-in-law said the box claimed it was one of a kind, but it just looked like every other Halloween prop to me. They stuck it by the walkway near the porch light, the perfect spot for jump scares. Everything was fine through the evening. The neighborhood was packed with kids, parents, dogs in costumes, the usual chaos. The scarecrow went off constantly. Motion sensor triggered. Laugh, reset, laugh again. My sister joked that the batteries would die before midnight. By 10 o'clock, the crowd had thinned out. The air was cold, the street quiet, and that thick kind of silence settled in, where you can hear your own heartbeat. They left the decorations running for a bit longer, just to keep the spirit of it alive. My brother-in-law and I sat on the porch steps drinking coffee, watching the fog drift across the yard. And that's when it happened. We heard the scarecrow laugh, but no one was there. I figured it was the wind or a car's headlights tripping the sensor, but then it spoke in this deep, garbled voice that wasn't part of the recording. "Happy Halloween, Lily." My brother-in-law froze mid-sip. Lily was his daughter, my niece. She'd gone to bed an hour earlier. At first, we thought maybe it had some kind of voice recognition feature. Maybe it picked up names or something, but that didn't make sense. It was an off-the-shelf prop, not a smart toy. Then it spoke again. "Good night, Ben. See you next year." That was the kid from next door. We just stared at it. The scarecrow wasn't laughing now. It was just standing there, its plastic head tilted slightly to the side. The light from the porch cast shadows across its face, making the grin look wider than it was. My brother-in-law got up and walked toward it. The motion sensor should have triggered the laugh, but it didn't. The thing stayed silent. He crouched to check the wiring, muttering about 40 circuits. I stayed on the porch, watching. And then I heard it whisper, "Who's that behind you?" I swear to God, the voice didn't come from the speaker. It came from the direction of the scarecrow, but it was soft, human, like someone leaning close to your ear. My brother-in-law straightened up fast. "Did you hear that?" Before I could answer, it spoke again, louder this time. "Happy Halloween, Kevin." Kevin, that was me. The tone wasn't cheerful anymore. It sounded wet, like someone struggling to talk through water. We ripped the batteries out right then and there. But the scarecrow didn't stop. It started listing names, one after another, kids who had come by earlier that night. Some we recognized, some we didn't. It said them slowly, like it was remembering each one. Then it began saying names neither of us had heard before. When it said, "Evan," my brother-in-law froze. His face went white. Evan was his brother. He died when they were teenagers. He didn't say a word, just grabbed the scarecrow, yanked it out of the ground, and threw it into the driveway. We both stood there breathing hard, staring at the motionless thing lying on its back in the fog. That's when my sister came out, half asleep, asking what was going on. We told her it must have short-circuited. We tossed the scarecrow in the garage and locked the door. The next morning, it was gone. The garage door was still locked, the latch still in place, but the scarecrow wasn't there. The only thing left was a small patch of straw in the shape of 2 footprints. A few days later, my brother-in-law checked the footage from the porch camera. Around 3:07 a.m., the camera flickered. The frame glitched for maybe a second, and then, for one clear shot, you could see the scarecrow standing upright again. Not by the garage, not by the porch, but right under my niece's window. The timestamp rolled to 3:08, and it was gone. That was last year. They moved the following spring, said they needed a fresh start. And I didn't argue. This happened about 3 years ago, on Halloween night. I was 17 back then. My best friend Jake was throwing one of those small backyard parties. Bonfire, music, candy, the usual stuff. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks, but that night didn't go anything like I expected. Earlier that week, I realized I still didn't have a costume. I'd waited too long, like I always do, and by the time I checked the stores, everything decent was sold out or way too expensive. So I started asking around, and my buddy Luke said I could borrow one from his dad's old costume trunk. This big wooden chest he kept in their garage, full of random stuff from his theatre days. When we opened it, this heavy smell of dust and old paper came out. Inside were wigs, hats, strange masks, and right at the bottom was this old clown costume. Not the bright, funny kind, but faded red and cream, with huge buttons down the middle and a ruffled collar. It looked old, but in that cool, vintage, creepy sort of way. Luke hesitated when I pulled it out. He said, "Yeah, that one's been in my family for a while. My dad used to wear it for some local Halloween event. Just, don't wreck it. I promised I'd be careful." That night, I got home early, put the costume on, and checked myself in the mirror. It fit weirdly well, almost like it had been made for me. I even found this old rubber clown mask stuffed into one of the pockets. Pale white, red smears around the mouth, and hollow black eyes. The inside smelled faintly like mildew. I laughed at myself, a little creeped out, but still thinking it was perfect for Halloween. I texted Jake, told him I might show up late because my parents wanted me to hand out candy first. So I stayed home until about 9, giving out candy to the neighborhood kids. After that, I started feeling tired. The party was across town, and honestly, I figured I could just hang out with everyone tomorrow and pretend I went. I remember sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone until I fell asleep around midnight. The next morning, I woke up to like 15 missed messages. People were texting me stuff like, "Dude, that costume was awesome," and "You didn't have to scare us that bad." I texted back, totally confused. I said, "What are you talking about?" I didn't even go. They thought I was joking. My friend Cara said, "You literally walked into the party around 10. You didn't say anything, just stood there staring at everyone by the fire, then left. I thought they were messing with me. I swear on my life, I never left my house. I even checked my phone's location history later, and it showed I'd been home all night." But everyone said they saw me. Not just 1 or 2 people, a lot of them. They all said I was wearing that same clown costume, standing near the fire, head tilted slightly, silent, just watching. Jake told me it freaked everyone out because I never took the mask off. The more people I talked to, the weirder it got. Some said they saw me walk out through the back gate. One person swore they saw me heading down the road toward the woods behind the house. At first, I thought maybe someone else happened to have the same costume. But that clown suit wasn't something you'd find in a store. It had a unique diamond pattern on one sleeve, one button missing, and a small burn mark near the collar. And everyone described it exactly like that. That's when I started feeling this heavy weight in my chest. Something was seriously wrong. The next morning, I went to Luke's house and asked if anyone else could have taken the costume. He looked confused and said no. The trunk had been locked. When I told him people saw someone wearing it and that it wasn't me, he just stared at me for a second and said, "That's not funny." Then he told me something I hadn't known before. After my dad died, my mom wanted to get rid of all his Halloween stuff, he said, but I couldn't do it. That clown suit, it was his favorite. He wore it every year when he ran the haunted fair in town. He paused before adding, the night he had the heart attack, he was wearing that same costume. Apparently, his dad had been working in one of those haunted mazes, scaring people. Someone inside had a heart attack, and when his dad tried to help, he collapsed too. They found him still wearing that clown suit. Luke said his mom thought the costume was cursed. She burned most of his dad's things, but he couldn't bring himself to destroy that one. He'd hidden it in the garage trunk, thinking maybe one day he'd wear it again to feel close to his dad. But he never did. When he told me that, I felt sick. I said, "Well, it's still here. It's hanging in my closet. I can bring it back." He said, "Don't. I'm coming over." He sounded terrified. 20 minutes later, he showed up at my house. We went straight to my room. I opened the closet, and it was gone. The hanger was empty. We tore the place apart, under the bed, in the laundry, even up in the attic. Nothing. The costume had just vanished. We never found it again.